Greetings. This is Soul Inspired Feminine. I hope you all are doing well. All is well in the world, as they say, even though we have so many things going on, but everyone is in their own universe, in their own reality. And we have to remember that even though we're all interconnected. So I am forward again, and I'm still on my Michael Jackson. I don't want to call it a kick because I've always loved Michael, but I've been having conversations about different things as it pertains to Michael. And let's see, I wanted to talk a little bit about something I was talking to my hubby about. And it's been on my mind, and I just brought it up to him to see what he would say, just to get his thoughts on it. And he was like, "Ooh, that would be a good podcast." I was like, "Okay, maybe I should, talk about it." So my thing was, do you believe Michael Jackson would have been accepted to the masses over the years if his skin, the pigment in his skin, hadn't changed? Do you think that he would have been as big? I'm not taking anything away from the talent. I'm not talking about his talent. I'm talking about his skin color over the years changing due to the vitiligo. Some call it vitiligo. Do you think he would have been as big of a star, or the Michael Jackson? And again, this is separate from his actual gifts and talents. Do you think he would have been accepted to the masses over the years if he hadn't lost his pigmentation due to vitiligo? And I reflected on this dynamic around Michael Jackson, especially when looking at race, celebrity culture, beauty standards, and media conditioning in America and globally. Even though it's a sensitive subject, there's a deeper cultural conversation I think is worth examining. So Michael publicly said he had vitiligo, and it's a condition that causes loss of pigmentation. And over time, his appearance changed dramatically. And at the same time, he existed inside an entertainment industry that was that has his pigmentation impact. It rewards you based on your pigmentation. So his impact of his pigmentation changing was rewarded to whiteness, while his blackness was scrutinized, I think, harshly. We saw in the movie as well, when I say blackness, it's not just a skin tone, it's features of blackness. So his nose, and his father even said his nose was big. And Michael even said that someone said, "Well, where's the little Michael that used to sing?" And he was in his awkward stage of being a teenager, and he had acne, and he had his beautiful black features. And she said, oh, what happened? And Michael said he never forgot that. That really hurt him. And it made him even more subconscious about his features. So we all know that he had nose reconstruction over the years. So many observers have pointed out that as his appearance became lighter, it seems that, mainstream media and global audiences often seem to soften toward him in the ways that reveal uncomfortable truths about colorism and racial bias. So his aesthetics changed over the years. And that doesn't mean that his talent suddenly became more acceptable because of his lighter skin. His genius was already undeniable from childhood. The Jackson 5 and Michael, as young black artists, had already, shattered barriers long before his physical transformation. But perception and mass consciousness can shift based on appearance. whether people consciously admit it or not. We know this to be true. We know the lighter you are, the more you accept it. It's just the truth. Nina Simone was loved, but she also was said that she wasn't the most beautiful, and she embraced her black features at one point in her career. I'm glad she didn't lighten her skin and things like that, but she was scrutinized. So based on appearance, perception and mass consciousness is affected. And so, I feel like there's another layer. Michael became almost post-human in their public image, and in their imagination. He was racially ambiguous, mythic, and archetypal. His image evolved into something many people projected onto. The transformation made some audiences feel closer to him, while others felt grief, confusion, or betrayal because they saw a black icon physically changing under immense pressure. And I can attest to that. It was confusing. It was kind of off-putting in the changes, because I know the Michael I grew up with and the Michael my mom grew up with and that type of thing. So it was very confusing, and I didn't understand, skin vitiligo at the time. I was pretty young, so I didn't know that could actually happen. And there was so many, lies going around that he was, bleaching his skin because he wanted to be lighter. And he really was having a skin pigmentation issue. So in many ways, Michael's life exposed the shadow side of fame, racial trauma, impossible beauty standards, media dissection, childhood exploitation, and the cost of being turned into a global symbol instead of simply being a human being. Some people also believe the world treated him more gently visually as he became lighter, while simultaneously becoming more obsessed, invasive, and cruel toward him mentally. So both can be true at once. And spiritually and culturally, Michael often carried the energy of a bridge figure, someone who transcended categories while also revealing the wounds inside those categories. That's partly, I believe that's why conversations about him still feel emotionally charged decades later. And when you're, talking about touching on opens into a much larger conversation, Michael emerged during a period when black artists were still heavily restricted in mainstream media. Even getting videos played on MTV was difficult for black performers in the early 1980s. Thriller helped break that barrier, but it's all important to remember he had to become almost superhuman in talent, perfectionism, and a spectacle to receive the level of recognition many white artists receive far more easily. As his appearance changed, something shifted in public consciousness. He became harder for mainstream audiences to racially categorize. Global audiences projected onto him differently, and his image became more universal in the eyes of the commercial media. The industry could market him as less threatening to certain audiences, and that reflects something painful about colorism and anti-black conditioning worldwide. There's also the phenomenon of safe black excellence. Historically, society often celebrates black figures more comfortably when they appear less culturally threatening, less politically confrontational, more assimilated based on aesthetics, and or symbolically otherworldly. So in some respects, Michael's transformation unintentionally intersected with that dynamic. At the same time, the tragedy, sorry, is that, many people ignored the medical reality of vitiligo and lupus related skin changes and instead turned his body into public debate. He was mocked relentlessly. So, although some audiences may have subconsciously found him more acceptable, he was simultaneously dehumanized in another way, treated like an object of fascination instead of a man under immense pressure. And if you heard my last video, we know again that vitiligo or any autoimmune diseases is due to immense stress over time. And, that's something he was totally under ever since he was a child. There's also an energetic dimension to Michael that fascinates many people. He almost stopped being viewed as a normal person and became an archetype. He embodied contradictions, the masculine and the feminine softness, childlike innocence and adult genius, Black musical roots with global crossover appeal, fragility and immense power, earthly pain and mythic presence. That sorry, I can't even say some of my words, but it made him spiritually and it made him magnetic. Ambiguity. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So you can even see this in how different eras of Michael was remembered. When he was little, early Michael, he was associated with Black joy, raw talent, charisma, and cultural rootness. That's in his early career when he was a child with Motown. And at later Michael, when he became the Michael Jackson, that era was associated with mystery, transcendence, loneliness, and surrealism, and almost angelic or ethereal imagery. So many fans feel both awe and grief when looking at those transitions because they symbolize not only Michael's evolution, but the pressures of fame and racialized beauty standards, which can be placed on the human psyche. It's deep. It's deep. There's also a deeper cultural paradox. The more Michael transcended categories, the less people allowed him to simply belong to himself. That's why discussions about him often become emotional, philosophical, spiritual, and political all at once. And it goes back to my original question. Would Michael have been treated differently if his appearance never changed? Did the public unconsciously de-racialize him? What does society project onto Black icons? And why do audiences idolize and destroy the same people? And through the eyes of colorism, again, we know that vitiligo can become extensive over time, and especially under bright lights and lighting and heavy public exposure, which may explain why he increasingly appeared lighter skinned in the 80s and 90s. At the same time, many people, especially within the Black communities, interpreted his transformation through the lens of colorism. Colorism refers to systems where lighter skin is socially privileged over darker skin, often within the same racial or ethnic group. Because Jackson was one of the most famous Black entertainers in the world, his visible shift in skin tone sparked painful debates about whether success in entertainment was tied to proximity to whiteness. And because he also underwent multiple cosmetic surgeries that just added to the idea of colorism slash Eurocentric beauty standards. His hair texture changed as well. The Jerry curl was out at one point, so he had that, but he started his actual. I don't know if he wore wigs earlier on. He may have had hair pieces, but his hair texture and his styling changed as well. So the media often frame his appearance in sensational or mocking ways, and his, again, proximity to whiteness or ambiguous looks. For many observers, especially during the 80s and 90s, it seemed symbolic of pressures Black celebrities faced to conform to Eurocentric beauty standards. Whether or not Jackson intended that message personally, many people projected larger cultural anxieties onto him. Again, with his medical issues and the social meaning people attached to his appearance, which is cultural and political. Jackson himself repeatedly denied wanting to be white. In interviews, including one with Oprah in 1993, he said he was proud of being a Black American and described the rumors as deeply hurtful. And the conversation around him also reveals how colorism operates in reverse directions. Some critics accused him of rejecting Blackness. Others argued the public denied him compassion because dark-skinned Black people are often not granted vulnerability or medical privacy. Tabloid culture amplified both narratives, often reducing a complicated person into a spectacle. And, as the years have gone on, especially since his passing, I would say that many cultural critics, scholars, etc., view Jackson as a figure who was caught between genuine medical problems, intense fame, racialized beauty expectations, and a media environment that was obsessed with transformation. His story is often discussed alongside broader conversations about skin tone, politics and entertainment, cosmetic surgery and identity, the treatment of Black celebrities, and how race is visually policed in public life. So when people discuss Michael Jackson and colorism, they usually are talking about more than just his skin tone itself. It's like they're examining how society reacts to Black identity, how it reacts to Black appearance, fame, and perceived movement toward or away from whiteness. And, just exploring the idea that Michael Jackson became increasingly acceptable to the mainstream as he became less visibly Black, while simultaneously becoming less human in the public imagination. That paradox is important because people often simplify the conversation into he wanted to be white versus it was only vitiligo. But I would think, a deeper conversation on why did the world respond to his change in appearance the way they did, that question says more about society than it does about Michael. And how America historically loves Black culture while struggling with Black embodiment. Black music becomes global, Black style becomes trendy, Black rhythm shapes pop culture, Black creativity drives entertainment, yet visibility of Black people are often still hyper scrutinized. Michael extended and he existed at the center of this contradiction. He gave the world pop innovation, dance language, fashion influence, emotional vulnerability, musical genius. But the closer he moved toward racial ambiguity, the more universal corporate media often treated him. So black figures historically have become more embraced when they were softened. They were non-threatening. They assimilated. They were non-political or depoliticized. And Michael's later image, just physically, because he actually became more radical in the way he was treated by Tommy Mottola, Sony. But his image was softer, surreal, and ethereal. Almost non-racial in mass perception. Some audiences process that as safer. Not because his blackness disappeared, but because it made people more comfortable. Michael may have become the first truly global post-racial pop figure in the modern era. So you could compare him to archetypes rather than just celebrities. He stopped feeling like a man from Gary, Indiana, and started feeling like a symbol, a myth, a global emotional projection screen. That transformation fascinates many professionals because humans project onto ambiguous figures more intensely. The less definable someone becomes, the more people can insert themselves into them. Michael, well, I would ask the question, was Michael escaping or dissolving? This can become, psychological and spiritual. Was he trying to escape pain, escape racial trauma, escape fame, escape adulthood, or did fame slowly dissolve his stable identity? A lot of this definitely has something to do with child stardom, disassociation, perfectionism, body transformations under public pressure, and celebrity as a psychological framework, maybe even fragmentation. We all know across the world, historically, there has been a skin lightening industry worldwide. Colonial beauty standards, Hollywood casting history, treatment of darker skin performers, media biases. Again, I use Nina Simone as an example. She was beautiful, beautiful. And we know that there were some entertainers who said some things not really nice about beautiful Nina Simone. So there's so many ways I could go with this, With Michael in his early career, like I said, he represented the Black family, Black American artistry, Motown, and rooted cultural identity. Later, Michael was looked at as angelic, untouchable, abstract, and even alien-like. Society sometimes prefer icons over humans because icons don't force confrontation with reality. And this is just one point of view because we know that Michael was very involved with community. He actually, I think he was in he won an award, the Guinness Book of World Records, I think, for the one who gave the most to charities. So he wasn't just this person who didn't care about humanity and communities. He helped on so many levels. And we would never know. We would never know the people he assisted and people who looked like you and I, Black people. He helped people all around the globe. He was just that type of man. But yeah, this conversation came up about Michael, about if he would have been accepted if his skin tone hadn't changed, if his if he had kept his blacker skin. All of this comes up of collective anxieties about race, masculinity, beauty, innocence, and identity itself. So maybe the real question isn't whether Michael changed. Maybe the question is, what did the world reveal about itself through its reactions to him? How did the world change? Not really change, again, like I said, reveal itself through its reaction to Michael. I'm still thinking about it myself. I don't have all the answers, but this is something I did after thinking about it. And I think it's worth discussing, because as more and more youth are starting to love Michael, and we're exposing the youth to Michael from when he first started with the Jackson 5 all the way up to a certain point in his career, he visually changed. And those conversations should be had with your children, because they're going to see the change on videos. They're going to see, well, he doesn't look like he did when he was a little boy. He doesn't look the same when he was a teenager. He doesn't look the same when he was doing Off the Wall and he was on tour with his brothers. You have to be able to have these conversations with the children, because they have a right to ask these questions. They're going to want to know, why doesn't he look the same? And we can't ignore that or act like it's not real. We experienced it ourselves. A lot of people who may have met Michael through, say, Bad era, and afterwards do not know Michael from the Thriller era to the Destiny era, to the Victory era, to the Jacksons era, and the Jackson 5 era. They don't know that Michael or his brothers. So the change in pigmentation and facial cosmetic changes needs to be discussed, and not in a way of judgment, but truth. And I think he deserves that as well. And we deserve that for ourselves, who at a younger age may not have understood what was going on. So I just wanted to leave this with you all. I hope that this has been enjoyable. Thank you for all of my hiccups as I did this video. I appreciate it. I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening. This again is Soul Inspired Feminine, and I am here again leaving some thoughts. May you have a wonderful day. Ankh Uja Seneb Dua Inter, and we give thanks for you again, and like and subscribe. All right, peace and love.